Now, a little earlier, we were talking about Secure Act 1.0. The reason it's 1.0 is because last December, Secure Act 2.0 passed, and we're continuing to peel back the layers of 2.0. Some of the good changes deal with after-tax Roth accounts. Guys, as we wrap up here, can you run them down and talk about the benefits of these?
Yeah, definitely, Chris. We can definitely do that. And that's one of the things that we do for our clients. I think it's important that, as we talked about, sometimes just being aware of some of these changes can help give you as much lead time as possible to prepare. And, that's really what we try to do with, some of the educational classes that we do and our events. So just to kind of give you a highlight again, and the number of updates to the Secure Act is lengthy, but we want to talk about some of the major ones that we think our listeners would benefit from most and would most likely impact them. So first, we're talking about an increase in the required minimum distribution age. That starts at 72 to 75 over the period of the next 10 years. And then so now we're looking at 73 for 2024. Another major change was enhanced recently with the Secure 2.0 was the 50 and over catch-up provision. So starting in 2024, savers who are the ages of 60 to 63 have an opportunity to increase their catch-up contribution from $6,500 to $10,000 in their 401k and 403b plans. So that's a pretty big deal. And I know in previous segments we've talked about high wage earners being forced in some cases to contribute that catch-up provision to their Roth component of the 401k if the employer offers it. So, I think those are one of the bigger ones. The simple plans, the savings and investment plans for small employers also got a bump to their catch-up plan, going from $3,000 to $5,000. So these are just a lot of different ways, some significant changes that have really impacted the way that people save, that employees can save and reduce their taxable income. So if you're not up to date on all of the Secure Act 2.0 changes that can affect you, don't feel bad. Like I said, there's a ton of them out there, and even a lot of the most diligent advisors may not be able to keep up with them. So if you have any questions, if you'd like a step-by-step update, a detailed guide, and help you kind of sort through some of these changes, text to 419-909-3828. Text us Secure 2.0, and we'll send you an update on all of those changes. And Nolan, do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, if you think about it, the Secure Act 2.0, it was passed in December of 2022. It also comes down to the plan provider and your employer actually implementing those rule changes. So when I was getting ready for this show, as an example, our company 401k that we use, when you look at the ability for Roth 401k company matches being available, I called our plan provider just to again learn about, has our plan provider implemented those changes. And so before passing the act, the pre-tax dollars that the employer matched had to go in pre-taxed. And what that meant that the retiree would pay taxes on it when they retired and they took that money out. I, like many of you guys, think that having Roth company matches would be a fantastic thing. One, selfishly as the business owner who puts money into the 401k, but also for my employees, who want to, get that company match. Now, again, you'd have to check with your CPA, your accountant. We're not tax professionals on how it applies to your situation. That company match in the Roth 401k could be considered income in the year that you receive it, unlike the pre-tax contributions, because, again, the government wants to get their money some way. But I'd rather have the government get the money on the dollars going in while the balance is smaller than when the balance grows bigger and bigger in the future and when you pull that money out. Because right now we also have the secondary problem, which is the unfunded liabilities and the government's consistent, constant, out-of-control spending that's massively building up our debt, which means, higher taxes could be in the future. Now, the problem is if your company's 401k is slow to act on some of these, you also could be limited on that, which is exactly what I had found out when I called our 401k provider asking about these rule changes. And the company had not yet adapted the rule changes. Here it is in August, and a rule change that went into effect last year. And so what that means is it's time for us to maybe look at another 401k provider. And the same would be true as if the person that you're working with isn't keeping up with the rule changes. Once maybe it's time to do something different, whether it's get a second opinion, know what those rules are, know how they apply to your situation. It goes back to what the Honorable Learned Hand said, the judge, who said there's two systems of taxation, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. There are massive changes in how it applies to your retirement account, how it applies to things like college accounts and 529 plans. And if somebody hasn't sat down and talked with you this year about your retirement savings in the Secure Act 2.0, I would absolutely love the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation, give you a second opinion, because if you're missing out on potentially tax-free dollars in the future, what a shame it would be to make smart financial investment decisions only to pay higher taxes in the future.
Exactly.
Definitely one of those situations where what you don't know may hurt you, seems dramatic, but it can affect your bottom line in your retirement, forcing you to pay more than necessary. So it is important to maybe not necessarily you personally stay abreast of all the changes that are coming down the line from Washington. It's a full-time job in and of itself, but turning to people who this is their job, this is what they help people with, staying informed, having a plan that can be revised. That is what you get with the retirement guys. That is what you get with the entire team at America's Retirement Headquarters. And so to have them on your side, real simple. Give a call, 419-794-3030 to start creating that plan, or you can always go to the website as well, arhq.com. We want to thank you, as we always do, for joining us here on the show, spending part of your day with us here on America's Retirement Headquarters. Please have a great week ahead of you. Be safe out there. Guys, as always, appreciate the time. And as we wrap up, want to leave you with the final word.
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned there it'd be painful to learn about things that maybe you could have applied to your situation. The good news is for you listening, the Secure Act 2.0 is less than a year old. It's still new. It's going to take time for companies to get implemented. I get that. My goal of coming on this show and teaching you about the Secure Act 2.0 is to make sure in 10 or 15 years from now, you don't have to look back and say, I wish I would have known then. So now's a great time to find out how this applies to your situation. Look at the ways that we can implement this to, again, keep the government away from your money, because there are great benefits of the Secure Act, but it's, again, one of those things that if you don't apply it to your situation, you could look back and say 10 or 15 years and say, I wish I would have known. We don't want you to know that. That's why we want you to continue to listen to our show here on Toledo's largest talk station each and every week. And, every week we kind of end with a great quote. And, meeting Gary from the Rascal Flats recently in Nashville, I got a quote that I thought was pretty fitting with some of his songs that he plays. And this quote is, retirement is not the end of the road. It's the beginning of the open highway. So have a great week this week, folks. Just remember, when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters, and it's home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates.